Hello, people. This is Yaprak, MCVP oGX of Isaac in France for the term 1819, sorry. And welcome to the consultancy space for the MC applications 1920. And I will be sharing my screen and I will put a space for questions for each end of the pillars in case any of you joins later on in the call. Well, you can ask your questions in that moment. And voila, let's start. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, cool. So one more time, welcome to the consultancy space. I'm going to be talking about three drivers specifically, the ones that I'm working on in this term. First is product management, then is network management and international relations. So first, product. I'm going to start with the focus, which is global volunteer. This is the timeline you can see in front of you of 1718 of global volunteer. As you can see, our biggest peak and kind of only peak is in summer peak, and it's happening in March, April, May. And yes, and the realization peak is June, July. It's all based on the university timeline, and usually you see a pretty, precise peak, which we don't have in Isaac in France because of different university timelines and people going on exchange in different times, which is, as you can see, June, July. But for the attraction phase itself, based on the exam timelines, it really depends. So March, April, May is kind of our peaks that we can manage. And yeah. This is the overall of product in this moment for Global Volunteer. As you can see here, we had 502 approvals last year, and now currently we are planning 830 approvals for the term 1819, and we are at 81 in this point, which is like around 11% plan versus achieved. And for in terms of realizations, we are planning to have 700 realizations, and currently we are at 60. The conversion rates that you're seeing, for the first one, 1780, it is for the entire year. And the second row, like this column here, it's for the first semester of applicant accepted, approved, and applied approved. As you can see, is really low compared to the ones that are last year. The reason why is because of this huge peak happening in summer, so we didn't have our main peak yet. Therefore, these conversion rates are really not representative for the term itself. So we need to wait until mainly like end of May to have a more realistic conversion rate for the term 1819. Currently, the process time of applicants to approved is 24 days. It's really, really high. It's something that we are working on, but currently the LCs are running different processes, so we're trying to unify them with the SOPs, and the goal is 10 days, which is realistically possible for French bureaucracy and French EP systems. So yeah. For Global Volunteer, you can here see the LC ranking for approvals and for LC situation for each stage of the status when it comes to consideration mostly. And here you have a tool where you can find all of the products in the same form as this is. Check it out. It will be, I think, helpful for your applications. And the main bottlenecks that I want to discuss with you for this product is, first of all, lack of focus. Currently, we're dropping. And lack of focus meaning all of the LCs are supposed to be focusing on GB normally, which is not the case. All LCs are running all products, and there is no proper like product differentiation in the LC level, which is causing us problems when it comes to attraction mostly. And product knowledge in LCVPs, the timeline for LCVPs to be onboarded, to be transitioned is really different, since we have some LCs starting on February and some starting on July. The education and transition is highly different, and the knowledge itself, it really differs which LC are we talking about. So that's also one of the reasons. And of course, if the LCVP is not educated, the member is not educated. If the member is not educated, we don't have exchange. Lack of planning. The first semester, we didn't receive any planning from the LCs. So any goal that we put in the MC level was highly hypothetical on what the LCs could put based on the growth rate, but we didn't actually have the chance to track the LCs when it comes to plan versus achieved on their GV plan. And also IR, which is going to be our next topic, but I'm just going to put it here as well because IR is a huge problem in the entity. There are some LCs losing partnership with the universities just because they're not doing IR and they're sending people to everywhere. And this also explains the conversion rate and the process time. So yeah, IR downscaling is also a huge bottleneck. Something that we are doing and we are going to do this semester is inviting our partners to our calls, giving webinars in terms of attraction education and so on. But currently, this is the current bottlenecks. For global talent, which is our second product, there hasn't been much of a timeline. The timeline that you're seeing in front of you is mostly based on the university timeline of where people are getting out and when they are mostly looking for an internship, postgraduate, and so on. But this timeline hasn't been managed by the MC. And here you can see we had 59. This is also from last year, the timeline. We had 59 and our goal is 70. And currently we achieved 22 approvals. And in terms of realizations, the goal is 65 and the achievement is 24. And the conversion rates are really low when it comes to especially applicant to accepted, which is saying a lot about our attraction process and about the product differentiation that we were saying, because also like some EPs that are applying, unfortunately, they don't have the right profiles, is a normal product, is a kind of often problem for GT. But yeah, currently, this is the conversion rates. Again, we don't have any timeline, but we are working on one right now with our seeder, which is going to be June when it comes to approval peak. So yeah, the process time is 34 days, which is, again, we don't have a goal for process time. The same list that you saw in Global Talent when it comes to where is coming this applicants accepted and what is the conversion rate on each LC, you can find it again in the master tool and how they're contributing to the national one. So as I told you, all the LCs are running all the products. Of course, some of them are almost all of them are focusing on GV, but when it comes to GT, they don't actually reject or redirect the EP or to another product or to another LC, which is a current issue that we will work on this semester. But yeah, and you can see here the ranking of approvals as well. The main bottlenecks when it comes to this product, and this will also be super aligned with GE, which is our next product, is first talent capacity. As you know, in Isaac in France, in the MC level, you have only MCVP oGX. So you have one person managing 3 products. You have the same thing in local level as well, which is a lot. And that's why, for example, one LC decided to divide the LCs, LCVPs, which is quite cool. So they have one LCVP OGV and they have one LCVP OGET. It's something that we want for all LCs. And as you saw in the application itself, there's a possibility to opening one position for MCVP OGET, which will be mainly working with this VPs that is going to come, we hope, from this terms effort. One thing that is also missing, no focus market, meaning that this is mostly market knowledge. So we have in our market a couple of universities and really good business schools, but we don't actually understand the sub-products and we don't actually have the knowledge to build the product inside our markets, which is also coming from the lack of talent capacity from the MC itself, because I am personally focusing on OGV. So I did a neck for OGT, but since I am not tracking or there's no one tracking, basically the LC level, this is not much developing. And no planning. This is both from MC and LC side, I would say. When it comes to MC planning, there hasn't been much done in terms of SOP or IR because of focus GV. And it's the same thing for LC level as well. Like everyone is focusing on GB, so no one has a kind of plan for GT. And now we have with this new wave of LCBPO GT. Ways forward is product building, obviously from scratch. It's first market research, then IR, then SOP education to VPs and to the membership. It's something that we are working with our GT seeder in the moment and seeing like what markets do we have in our hands and what is the profiles, what kind of EP prioritization we should be doing, what kind of IR partners and sub-products should we be working with, and how is going to be the process with our EPs, which is the main education that we need to set with our membership. But that's the idea. When it comes to global entrepreneur, it's the same. The main peak is May, but it's kind of also the process. It's kind of the same with GV. There's not much product differentiation again in this one. And here you can see the plan versus achieve. We put a growth rate of not super important, and 60 approvals we are targeting. We have 2, but here you can see that we have our approval peak in May. So this will be also coming from there. And realization, we're planning on having 50. Sorry, and we have 5. The conversion rates are kind of self-explanatory. Applied, accepted, super low. Why? Because we don't have IR. And accepted to approved. Why? Because we don't have EP management education in the membership. And applied, approved currently is really, really low. So yeah. And the process time is 10 days, which I wouldn't really take into consideration since we have currently 2 approvals, so it's not really representative. And here you can see which LCs are coming from the applicants accepted and approvals and the conversion rates and overall ranking. And the main bottlenecks is actually the same with GT, is lack of talent capacity in the MC and in the LCs, and no focus market. So for example, even like imagine you don't have the differentiation between GV and GT. So like between GT and GE is a whole other story. Basically, there's a whole problem with the product differentiation between these products. So this is the more important thing. And of course, no planning, again, is the same issue with GT. The ways forward is, again, something that we are working with our seeder. And we have one opportunity that we can actually upscale, is the national partnership with MBWay, which is a school group that signed with Isaac in France, literally for sending their students to GE. So we have the market. All we need to work is IR and SOPs and sub-products. But this is something that can be really interesting for the MCA elect, along with GT. And yeah, this is something that we are thinking of right now, piloting and then upscaling if successful during next year. This was all for product management. If you have any questions, you can ask them. You can write me on Messenger. You have my number in global contact list. So it's all open. And I'm moving to international relations. So international relations, here's a list of our country partners currently. The country partner selection was mostly based on applicants, because we don't have a really good IR base in Isaac in France. And only partners that was actually elected and selected and going forward is Brazil and Indonesia based on approvals, because Brazil is giving us 30% of our approvals and Indonesia around 20%. So this is the partners that we are choosing to work with for this term as well. And the other partners that you see, Morocco, Italy, Greece, Croatia, is mostly based on the applicants and some conversion rates that we saw that are interesting and that we wanted to look forward. If you want to take a look on what was the state of each one of these entities, you can here find a booklet and you can see actually what was the state. For example, with Brazil, you can see applicant accepted and the conversion rates until completed for the term 17-18 and for the first semester of 18-19. So you can take a look at this. It's also kind of recommendations such as Turkey, such as Romania, that we put to like that can be interesting to work with during next year. But here you have the booklet inside the PDF, and you will find it here. So yes. And what is my routine in terms of international relations? First thing is, of course, a one-to-one with MCVPs pre-peak, meaning that this is peak of attraction, because we want to first align our attraction activities, what's going to be our routine, what's going to be our conversion rates, process time, and so on, and selection process of each entity, so we can ensure a more customer-oriented and customer-centric sales process to our EPs. And of course, marketing activities alignment with the entity partner, and then application tracking with NSTs. NST-IR is one of my strategies for, like, one of my, more correctly, stakeholders for the second semester. The first semester, I had NST network managers, which I found more necessary. And this semester, since we have the huge peak of approvals coming for summer peak, I'm working with NST-IR only on GB, which is application tracking and SOP implementation, and material collection mainly. And there are two drivers is first, international relations implementation to local level, two, data tracking. So it's basically tracking the conversion, tracking the process time, and so on with the entity partners. The bottlenecks, first, communication with partners. Since we don't have an IR culture in the entity, first semester was a little tricky when it comes to understanding how to align the timelines, how to make sure that this is happening, and we are providing actually EPs to our entity partners, which was again more difficult with the LC downscaling. As I told you, since LCs didn't have planning first semester, it was difficult for me to align and for Isaac and France to align basically the national goal of IR to the LC level, and also aligning the attraction strategy of LCs. It was the most difficult thing, I think, and that should be also taken into consideration. That's why we are really focusing this semester on planning and planning with IR, and we are also tracking the LC plannings based on IR. So, for example, they have amount of approvals that they're planning with their LC partners. And that's the idea. And currently, we have also created groups with our IR partners for more clear communication, so that the communication itself don't block in the MC level and goes actually in the LC level as well. Then the third and the last one, and the most important one for Isaac and France, I think, is network management. As MCVP oGX, you will have in your network LCVPs, NSTs, and membership. So I'm going to be focusing on the thing that will be most of your time, LCVPs, which is literally 80% of my time. We have weekly commission calls where I downscale the weekly strategy and kind of have an overall plan versus achieved in terms of numerical goals. And I have the weekly newsletter for data information, and again, weekly focus. So weekly newsletter goes in Mondays, and weekly commission calls are on Fridays, so that we kind of establish this accountability system between our commission. Then quarter one-to-ones. Since I have a commission of 17 people, I am not delivering them the 100% of team standards. I am focusing more on one-to-ones and how we can move forward from there in terms of personal growth and like personal goal setting and professional goal setting, and so on, and functional visits if needed, obviously based on the timeline that we are looking for in each LC. Then with NSTs, we have weekly team meetings where we check our progress and where we check our plannings. We have team standards implementation with the NST, so like 100% of it virtually, and monthly one-to-ones, again, included in team standards implementation. Then with the members, we have monthly commission calls to also give the sense of culture strategy, because it's a commission that is not used to be managed, and the culture itself needs to be provided and supported with R&R, supported with regular touch points and so on. So monthly commission calls is really important. Then functional visits to members for ensuring a minimum level of education. This has been from my side and from MCVP marketing side, since we are working mostly B2C. And of course, conferences as a regular touch point with the membership when it comes to education. And that was all. People, if you have any questions, you can always reach me. I'm this person, MCVP oGX. So, and I will be more than happy to help you, to support you with any data that you need and so on. So please take a look at this video and good luck. And yeah, do your best.